Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Excoundrel here. I'm using face cam for this because it's like a patch notes video, and if you can't see my face, it's going to be really boring. So that's why I've got my webcam up. I wouldn't usually have it up. I quite like playing without webcam on. I mean, actually, I'm kind of interested what you guys think. Would you prefer me to have my webcam on during the game or not? I kind of prefer playing with it off because most of the time I look like a total slob. So it's kind of nice to be just the voice, but there we go. This is a video about the upcoming changes that are currently on the PBE for the patch coming out next week for TFT. Before we get into the video, thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There is a reference link in the description below. And I want to make clear that these changes may seem quite wild, because usually what happens when a cycle of changes come on the PBE, they do something kind of crazy to see how it works, and then we end up getting slightly tempered down versions of what's kind of out there on the PBE. But what you see on the PBE now is going to give you a general direction to the buffs and nerfs that we're expecting on the next patch for TFT. So first of all, it's going to be like unit changes, and I think it's like then trait changes, and then like augment changes. And I think there's going to be some item changes in there as well. So Ashe having her mana reduced to 50. So, oh bloody hell. Ashe having her mana reduced to 50, so by 10... it's a little bit of a buff for Ashe. Ashe carry got nerfed on the last patch, so maybe trying to bring Ashe back as an augment carry once again, because that definitely wasn't is no longer as strong as it was. Neither here nor there about the Ashe thing. She's not a particularly strong unit, so I think the buff is fine. Blitzcrank's getting buffed at level 1, so he doesn't feel quite so turbo useless at this first level. So you'll see that he's having a buff at level 1 and a slight buff at level 2. So his damage reduction is going up. So he's going to get a 10% damage reduction increase at level 1 and a 5% damage reduction increase at level 2 and no change at level 3. So small buff to Blitzcrank, especially because he doesn't feel that tanky at his first level. And sorry if you hear me sniffing, by the way, I'm quite ill at the moment. Now, this is some big changes for Galio. Galio is not only having his mana increased by 20, and he's starting on only 10 mana more, so it's going to be longer for him to cast his first ability. He's also having the shield reduced by 50, then 60, and then almost 100. 95, he's having the shield reduced by his third level. So that's a big shield decrease to Galio, which is probably going to knock him off as a primary defensive item holder for if you're playing like a mascot's composition. Big nerfs to Galio. Huge nerfs. Definitely going to make him way less viable as a 3-star. Like an almost 100 shield is no big deal in terms of his damage drop off. But also augment carry Galio gets hit by this as well. So Lux is getting a small buff across her damage. So she's getting a 10 damage buff at level 1. She's getting a... sorry. I'm so sorry that you have to listen to this. I am quite blocked. 15 damage buff at level 2 and a 25 damage buff at level 3. Lux augment carry will be much more impactful at level 3 Lux. And actually this extra little bit of damage might help her get those kind of finishing kills at level 1 and level 2. But otherwise, not a major change to Lux. It's really the 3-star change, the 25 extra AP or the 25 extra magic damage that counts. This change is interesting to me. Poppy is getting a 50 shield increase at all ranks. If you remember back in like set 3, Candyland Poppy, the full 3-star Poppy was a thing. And I mean, there is maybe a world where that happens with this. It really depends on the... it really depends on how you would build her. Because obviously she deals armor as magic damage rather than kind of scaling off AP like she did on set 3. But it's a big shield increase. So it might make Poppy a much more viable defender kind of like for a significant portion of the game. Silas is getting a healing increase, but he's also getting a health increase. So he's going to deal a little bit more damage with his ability. Won't equate to a huge amount, but the healing is going up by 20 at all ranks, and his health at rank 3 is going to go up by about roughly 150, which at 15%, well, you're going to be doing like 20 extra damage. Not a huge amount of extra damage, but it's going to make him tankier, which is nice. Because he's not a very good unit right now, for sure. Talon is getting a stab damage increase, but also, more importantly, getting a slight attack speed increase. So he's going to generate mana a little bit more quickly in the fights. Kind of interested to see how this plays out. Talon also another one of those units that isn't particularly strong. But I've seen some 3-star Talons do well, and it's only a 10 damage increase, though. It's the attack speed increase that's more interesting to me, but it's only a 10 damage increase on his stab, so it's not sort of shattering worlds or anything like that. Annie getting a mana nerf. She's going up by 10 mana, although her starting mana is also going up, so her first cast shouldn't feel too much different. And then she's getting a damage nerf at rank 3 by 10, so not a lot, but a health nerf by 75 at rank 3, and 25 and 50 at rank 1 and 2, respectively. So again, another big shield nerf to 3-star Annie carry. I still think she will be viable. 425 health as a shield is still very good, and with the kind of defensive items that Annie gets, you're still gonna, I think, find it quite hard to burn through Annie as a frontline carry for Spellslingers. The thing is, they can't nerf her too hard because she is really the only frontline carry for Spellslingers. So that's or like the only kind of common frontline carry for Spellslingers. There is some variance with what you can play, but I think they can't nerf her too hard. So that's kind of. I get this. I get this. She was obnoxious with the shields that she generated, but she will still be viable, I think. But you'll find she might feel significantly easier to kill, which is a good thing, because sometimes she just felt completely invulnerable. Camille's getting a physical damage nerf on her leg sweep, but also it's just the scaling that's coming down. She's getting a scaling nerf on her leg sweep, which is the biggest change. So a very small scaling nerf. Don't think it's going to be a massive deal for Camille. Draven is getting a physical damage nerf on his whirling blades, and also a magic damage nerf to it. So he's going to get a slight damage nerf across the board, but he's going to get an attack speed increase. So he's going to have a damage nerf to like his first one, but he should generate mana a little bit more quickly and cast more of them over longer fights. So yeah, I think Mech Draven was kind of a fringe good build. I wouldn't say like it was a regular build that you saw across high-level play, but it's definitely a build that can be played. But the attack speed increase is just going to mean that he will deal more damage with his basic attacks to compensate, and also should generate mana a little bit more quickly. So kind of like a net even across the board, you feel like, for Draven here. Might even be with the items that you have for Draven, a slight buff. Just because you might actually generate more damage with your basic attacks overall. But it's interesting. Obviously the blades hit multiple people, so it's really hard to calculate. But, it's like we've taken power from his ability and put them into his basic attacks, is basically what's being said here. Ezreal's getting like a 10 damage nerf on his third ability. I mean, it's like negligible 10 damage nerf. Fiora's getting a scaling nerf on her third rank of her riposte. Other than that, there's no other big changes, so not a big deal. No one really builds Fiora like with a lot of AD anyway, so that's fine. Jinx is getting a pretty sizable damage increase on her third rank Rocket, and she's getting an attack damage increase across the board. I already thought Jinx was a relatively solid stage 2 unit in general. This feels like it will make Jinx a very, very, very good stage 2 unit to just slot into a comp. So as an individual unit, it feels like Jinx could be good here. And maybe Jinx carry augments could be solid, because she's getting a sizable attack damage increase, but also getting a pretty decent boost to her damage on her Rocket. So keep your eyes out on Jinx. Especially like Jinx Anima Squad. If you can get Anima Squad in early and then just get like a Jinx augment, Jinx carry could be a real thing. Malphite getting a very slight damage nerf at level 3. Again, trying to target that Yuumi Supers composition. Not a huge deal for Malphite though. Rel is having a magic damage nerf at level 3. Fair enough. I never really thought Rel 3 was a problem, but apparently enough to nerf her damage by 10. Not a big deal. Sivir is getting a scaling nerf to her third rank of her ultimate, or her ability. Other than that, no major changes. Yeah, no major changes. Which is like, yeah, there was some like Sivir carry, Sivir 3 comps that were pretty good, but I wouldn't say they were super prevalent. But yeah, very, very small scaling nerf to her deliver pizza. Vi grants... Oh, so basically Vi's having her Sunder nerfed at all ranks. Well, Sunder buffed at level 1, but let's be frank, Vi at level 1, kind of no one would keep her at level 1 anyway, but her Sunder at level 3 is getting nerfed to 70%. Now, that's actually pretty important because in Brawlers, the 70% Sunder that you got from Vi 3 was very strong. So it's going to be... You're going to see a net no change for most Vi users. Generally, they keep her at rank 2. But that's a pretty big change to her Sunder capabilities. Especially if you're going for like 3-star Vi. In mostly Brawlers, you tend to see 3-star Vi. Yasuo's getting a flat damage nerf to his rank 3 ability. Again, maybe to counteract the Yasuo Omnivamp. 3-star stuff that we've seen is super augment reliant, a little bit fringe, but it does do a lot of damage. Yuumi is getting a massive damage nerf across all ranks. 90 damage at rank 3. This hurts the cat. That is a pretty significant damage nerf to Yuumi's ability. To put it into context, you have to also take into account the Giant Slayer buff and also the Jeweled Gauntlet critical strike buff. So Yuumi's getting a big hit here. And along with the changes to the rest of the core units to her comp, and also some of the changes that you're going to see to Mascot, it feels like the Yuumi comp could be kind of dead. Cho'Gath is getting a magic resist scaling change to his ultimate damage or to his ability damage. That's it. Very small change. No one really played like full carry Cho'Gath anyway. It was only kind of in the Kai'Sa reroll comp that you often saw him get to 3-star. Maybe if you saw it in the loaded dice threats comp, but yeah. Jax. He's getting a leap strike. Sorry, his third attack bonus nerf for every single rank, 35 at rank 3. And the bonus damage increase stacking is going to get dropped as well, stacking up to 7 times. And his basic attack damage is coming down. That is a big nerf for Jax. Seems like a very kind of like hefty nerf for Jax as well. The one thing that I would say, though, is that he's still going to stack. It won't peak as highly, but he still will be, I think, a relatively good unit. Just won't be as obnoxiously strong as he is now. Kai'Sa's getting a magic damage nerf at rank 3 to her, only by 15. But more importantly, she's having her attack speed cut by 10%. And that's a pretty hefty percentage cut to her attack speed. And so Kai'Sa definitely getting hit after her popularity as a 3-star carry. It really is only her 2-star and 3-star carry that are getting hit here because her 1-star kind of sucks. So yeah, Kai'Sa on the chopping block a little bit as well. Maybe not as much as Yuumi and Jax, but definitely getting hit ever so slightly. LeBlanc's getting a 5 damage buff at rank 1 and rank 2. So you've got to put into context that is per sigil. So she's getting a 25 damage buff at rank 1, which is nice. And then she's getting a 30 damage buff at rank 2. No change at level 3. But that's pretty good. Rank 2 LeBlanc will do way more damage now across, especially if she's chaining those sigils. Nyla is getting a healing decrease at every rank. 25 at rank 1 and 2, and then 50 at rank 3. And also getting a slight damage nerf at rank 3 as well. So the rank 3 Nyla in like the Duelist build and the rank 3 Nyla in the Kai'Sa build will take a small hit here. Rammus is getting a armor scaling change at rank 3. That is it. Does equate to a significantly less magic damage dealt by his ability at that rank 3. Which is fine. Rammus was very strong. Even 2-star Rammus is very strong. The fact is they haven't actually changed 2-star Rammus, so he's still going to feel pretty strong. Like, he gets a load of passive armor, so he's a great individual tank, and then at rank 2 he's still going to deal a significant amount of damage. So most people don't get Rammus 3 in their games. Rammus 2 is still a good tank, so these changes are fine. Riven getting a damage nerf at rank 3 by 10. Not a big deal, honestly. Senna's getting a slight damage change. So magic damage going up, and her physical damage is going up. The way they've changed it makes me feel like they should have changed the scaling. She's got like a 5 physical damage increase and a 5 magic damage increase at level 3, which seems very small. So I don't think I think that might change, or that doesn't seem like a lot to me. Okay, Sona is getting a magic damage nerf at level 3 on her first cycle, a no change to the health, and a magic damage change on her third cycle. So basically 3-star Sona in the Hearts comp will take a hit to how much damage she can dish out, which is fair. I've seen a lot of very strong 3-star Sona players. Vayne is getting a damage buff, ever so slightly, a better scaling damage buff. So obviously you can play full scaling Vayne carry here because the scaling buff's going up. And she's also going to get a slight magic damage increase as well. So it feels like Ginsu's Last Whisper type Vayne, or like Last Whisper Runan's Vayne is going to look pretty good. Vayne carry is definitely on the menu for next patch. Vel'Koz is getting a pretty hefty rank 3 nerf. I feel like they're targeting Vel'Koz specifically because of the popularity of the loaded dice threats comp, and like rank 3 Vel'Koz was pretty strong. He's also getting a mana increase. So it's a level 1, level 2, and level 3 damage nerf and a mana increase. Feels bad for Vel'Koz. He actually wasn't, I didn't even think Vel'Koz was that strong. I think he was a good tech unit. I like Vel'Koz as a tech unit. Like, you just put him in rank 2, he's going to shut down their primary damage dealer for a few seconds. 2.25 seconds, which is quite a long time. So I quite liked Vel'Koz as a tech unit. But yeah, 70 mana. If you're playing Shojins on him, you shouldn't see too much difference. But definitely a big damage nerf, like almost 100 damage. Again, another 95 damage nerf to his ultimate, which is a big deal. Zoe's getting a level 3 damage nerf, 75 over 10 seconds. Actually, like 75 over 10 seconds is literally like 7 damage a second, so it's not that big of a deal. Zoe was already like anyway, so I think there was like she was good as a 3-star, but I don't know whether she warranted a nerf or not, but it's like a very small nerf realistically over the scope of 10 seconds. Aurelian Sol is getting a pretty sizable damage nerf at rank 3, but who the hell ever got Aurelian Sol to rank 3? Really, like, I never saw 3-star Aurelian Souls. It was his 2-star Jeweled Gauntlet Shojin's version that's the problem. But there we go. Bel'Veth is getting a magic damage decrease and a 25% bonus attack speed decrease, and her base attack damage is coming down. However, this might seem weird because Bel'Veth isn't very good, but I did read that Bel'Veth was only getting 5% scaling on AD on her ability rather than 50. That's why whenever she cast her ability, it felt like it did absolutely no damage. So now, Bel'Veth is actually going to do damage with her ability, and she will probably be much more playable. Very excited for Bel'Veth. Duelist Bel'Veth, or just like Ginsu's Bel'Veth in general, pretty strong. Misfortune fires 8 wives. So she's getting a 40 damage nerf at rank 3. No major changes at rank 2, apart from a 5 damage nerf at rank 1 and rank 2 from the first bullet. However, again, I know this Misfortune isn't very popular, but I have also read that Misfortune's turn speed and targeting is going to get better. So Misfortune will automatically target the largest clump of enemies, and her turn speed is going to increase. So it is kind of a net buff for Misfortune, but a nerf maybe to compensate for the added utility and better quality of life that you'll have when playing Misfortune. Samira is getting a buff at level 3 by about 800 damage. Good, because she didn't really feel like a very good level 3 4-cost carry. Set is also getting a level 3 buff, so he's going to get... So basically, he charges up quicker, so he deals his damage 0.5 seconds quicker. And he's going to deal slightly more damage at rank 2, and slightly more damage to rank 3. And his health is also going up across the board. Still don't think Set's going to be great, but there are some mech changes which do look pretty good. So still don't think Set's going to be great, but he'll be decent. Soraka is getting a healing nerf on her ability by 2%. 2%, I mean, look, I never really felt that Soraka's healing was the big difference maker, because usually if she got focused, she was going to die. So she's still playable for sure with this change. Viego is getting a health buff at every rank. He's getting a slight damage increase at rank 1 and rank 2. And he's getting a slight damage increase at rank 1 and rank 2 to the AoE as well. Yeah, good, because this probably means that Viego carry, which dropped off in popularity like crazy on the last patch, could come back in, shake up the meta a bit more of the 4 costs. What I'm seeing right now is that a lot of the reroll that was super strong is getting nerfed, and they're trying to make 4 costs a little bit more viable. Most of the 4 costs a little bit more viable. So reroll will probably still be effective, but they're trying to make it so that if you decide to go towards 4 costs, you're not going to get absolutely screwed by all the reroll players, which is a good thing, I think. I think the meta being completely reroll dependent was a bit sad because no one ever utilized level 8 and level 9, or not that many people do utilize level 8 and level 9. The only thing I hear about 4 cost games is that you rely on the luck of hitting the 4 cost, but it is what it is. Zach's getting a damage increase, 25% of his current damage, and he's also healing for slightly more. Good, because Zach felt like the worst tank in the game, especially compared to Rammus. So I like that they're buffing Zach. Zed's getting kill mode for only 7 seconds across the board. So buff to rank 1 and rank 2, and nerf to rank 3 Zed. But the damage is going up at every rank, and the physical damage is going up at every rank. As well as the slash damage going up at every rank. So it's actually a buff for Zed overall. So quite a significant buff for Zed overall. The reason I think they're doing this is because they're actually nerfing duelists quite a lot. So they're trying to make it so that Zed still feels like a viable 4-cost carry outside of vertical duelists. Fiddlesticks is getting a armor and magic resist buff, a big mana buff. This is very interesting. He gets a big mana buff so that he's going to cast maybe more than once per round, and the damage is going up by a small amount at every single rank. So Fiddlesticks getting a buff overall. Mordekaiser's starting mana is going up, and his damage is also going up a decent amount. So they're just buffing the 5 cost. Nunu is actually getting nerfed. So Nunu did probably feel like one of the best damage dealing carries, but he's actually getting nerfed. Syndra is getting a buff, so she's getting a mana reduction by 15. I don't know how much I like that, because Syndra already felt like she was spamming units onto the board, but there we go. So a lot of the 5 costs are getting buffed here. Urgot is getting a buff at every single rank, and also is going to be more likely to dredge at 2 stars. So if you can 2-star Urgot, you have a 1 in 4 chance to dredge, which is really nice. And that just means it makes it more worth it to go for 2-cost Urgot, especially if you're playing like a kind of a loot heavy comp, or if you can get Urgot to 2-star early on in the game, you can like generate a load of free items and gold, which is quite nice. Admin 6 is getting boosted by 20%, which is, again, you don't see too many Admin 6 games because I think you need 2 Admin spats to make it work, so it's quite difficult. Execute enemies under 15% health, so that is going to make comps like Misfortune, Samira, if you try and play solo, Mordekaiser, those kind of comps, Draven as well. That probably also links back to the Draven ability nerfs, because he's going to execute slightly quicker as well. So Samira, Misfortune, Draven comps getting a benefit, and obviously Ace comps in general will go up to 30%, so it won't make that much difference, but also solo Mordekaiser input's going to be pretty good. Anima Squad getting 6 permanent, not 6 permanent 5. So they're going to get 1 extra permanent health to each Anima Squad member per kill, and then also at Anima 7, getting a small buff to attack speed and ability power, but you're probably not going to see too many 7 Anima games. Huge nerf to Brawlers. So not a massive nerf to Brawler 6, which was the regular Brawler that you saw with Jax, but a big nerf to Brawler 8. So Brawler Spat is going to feel way less impactful than it did with, it's like a 21% health, 21% maximum health increase cut. So yeah, Brawler comp's not feeling too good right now. Once per combat at 70% health. So Fiddlesticks is going to cast quicker. So Fiddlesticks is getting a buff, and he's going to cast quicker. So he's going to cast earlier on into the fight, which is pretty cool. Because I liked Fiddlesticks as a one-of like as a one of CC ad, like you add him to add crowd control to a game. So I quite like that. Duelist, 2 nerfed by 1%, 4 nerfed by 2%, 6 nerfed by 4%, and 8 nerfed by 6%. I mean, you're still going to generate a hell of a lot of attack speed with 8 duelists, so it's still a decent trait to chase, but it's not going to feel that much better than 6 duelists. Not going to feel a huge amount better than 6 duelists. And 6 duelists is not going to feel a huge amount better than 4 duelists. So it almost might not be worth going past 4 duelists in a lot of cases. Although the Vayne buff does mean that we might see like Vayne 4 duelist style comps come out, which seems fine in my opinion. Duelists did feel pretty nutty if you got them going, especially if you had Zed with good items, so this makes sense. Laser Corps are getting a buff across the board by 5 and then 15 at 6, but Laser Corps still feels like a bit of a meme trait, so yeah. I mean, obviously, if you can get to 9 Laser Corps, good for you. That requires level 9 and a load of Laser Corps spats, so this one is like, yeah, that might be more game-ending now, but it's still just like, you almost never get that. Mascot 4 cut by 1.25% max health. Mascot 6 cut by 2%, and also Mascot 8 cut by 2%. That is some. I mean, look, we didn't really see Mascot 8, but Mascot 6, that is some big healing nerfs to Mascot. It definitely feels like that Yuumi comp's not going to be as good. Like, I don't know if these are going to be obviously the final changes. It is worth reiterating these are the PBE changes as of right now. It's not what the patch notes are going to be. But that is some hefty nerfs to Mascot. The Prime gains 70 ability power and 70% attack damage. So again, those Draven changes make sense. They're trying to make the Prime a better trait overall. So Draven shouldn't actually feel that much different in sort of respect. Actually might even feel better with these changes. All mechas gain a slight increase in attack damage and 50 ability power, and the mecha gains double this amount. So mecha is getting a decent buff on the next patch, which is pretty cool. Because I feel like, apart from Draven, kind of an underused trait. Not that many people play mecha. Oxforce is getting attack speed buffs across the board. So again, Viego buff. Also, for Aphelios. So some pretty cool changes for Oxforce. Renegade's getting nerfed ever so slightly at 6, which is for that, I guess, for the Camille Renegade comps. But again, I don't think Renegade's a particularly popular comp right now, so it's an interesting change. Spellslingers are getting massive nerfs at 6 and 8. I only ever have had 8 Spellslingers a couple of times, but it always felt a little bit underwhelming to me for some reason. But it's a 25 ability power nerf, and the orbs deal 50% less ability power damage, which is a big nerf. And Spellslinger 6 is getting a 15 ability power nerf as well. So those are some pretty big changes to Spellslinger. Indirect nerfs to Talia. Talia didn't actually get changed by this patch at all, but these are some kind of like indirect nerfs to Talia. Or I guess like direct nerfs because she's a Spellslinger. Supers are getting a 2% nerf to overall damage, and then a nerf by another 2% for every 3-star champion. So again, more hits to Yuumi, hits to the Kayle 1-cost build, hits to the Lulu 1-cost build. Any build that relies on a 1-cost reroll with supers is going to get hit by this. Giant Slayer getting a slight nerf, I guess makes sense because Brawlers also got nerfed, and this was the biggest Brawler counter. So if you just kept Giant Slayer the same, then it really would make Brawlers completely trash. So Giant Slayer getting a pretty significant nerf to the extra damage it helps deal. Increase to healing from Hextech Gunblade. Good news for Viego, who just got buffed. Slight increase to the bonus attack damage you get from Infinity Edge, which is nice because it's a very underused item right now, and especially with Vayne being popular. It's a good item for Vayne. Scaling on her ultimate, and also if her ultimate can crit, it's really nice. Blue buff, getting less ability power. Very small change to blue buff, but again, another nerf to Yuumi. 30 bonus magic resist from Dragon's Claw, so slight increase to the magic resist that you get from Dragon's Claw, which is nice. Demon Slayer is getting a buff, so you gain 40% bonus attack damage and 40 bonus ability power, and abilities deal 70% more damage to abilities with more than 1600 maximum health. Demon Slayer was only really that good if you did see like Brawlers and a lot of 2-stars, though most 2-stars didn't even have over 1600 health though. Bulwark's Oath is getting a health shield that lasts up to 10 seconds now, so a double shield. Now we're on to the augments. So Aphelios Augment, his attacks sunder 20% for enemies with the Oxforce changes as well. Aphelios is looking like a nice carry. Armored Dillo, 5 less armor for the team. Still a good augment if you're going to play support Rammus Augment. I wouldn't. Most people don't pick support Rammus Augment though, so. Tilia, support augments going down by 50% of their maximum health. Alistair's getting 150 bonus extra health for carry Alistair. I like carry Alistair, by the way. I think it's pretty cool. Vi, boxing lessons getting nerfed again. So even bigger hit to brawlers. Built Different is getting slightly nerfed. Again, from the prismatic and the gold traits. Content for the Week is getting a 2% nerf, which was the duelist go-to augment of choice. Because it's better than the Z carry one, because this one benefits all of your duelists, which help them generate attack speed way more quickly. 35 magic resist from Cho'Gath, so kind of in line with the Rammus. It's interesting that the Cho'Gath is like the magic damage carry, the magic damage carry tank, and then obviously the Rammus is the armor defense tank. So it's cool that, you know, I like that. Never really thought about that identity for both of them, but it's pretty cool. Samira carry augment, or Samira support augment, is getting slightly nerfed, which is interesting. Double Trouble is getting nerfed, which was the augment that you used for Vel'Koz more frequently. And with the Vel'Koz nerf as well, so the double Vel'Koz comp is going to be feeling pretty bad. Electrocharge getting slightly nerfed. It was a very good augment. Gangplank carry augments going up by 15%. But with the supers nerf, this is basically just kind of undoing the supers nerf, because the supers nerf is going to reduce his overall damage anyway. So yeah, poor Gangplank. This was just to compensate for the supers nerf, I guess. So you can still probably play supers Gangplank carry if you wanted to. Lulu support augments going up, but Lulu's support augment kind of sucks anyway. Vel'Koz support augments going up, so they kind of, I think they're trying to make Vel'Koz more of like this tech support unit rather than the outright carry. Carry Lulu augments getting nerfed by 5 ability power per stack, but she still gains the bonus health. Loaded Dies getting nerfed by 3 gold, not a big deal. Lux carry augments getting nerfed by 30%, which feels like a bit of a big deal, actually. I didn't think it was that strong. But maybe it was, but I never thought that carry Lux augment was that strong. Jeweled Lotus is getting a 5% crit strike nerf, which is actually pretty big deal. That also indirectly affects Tilia, but also affects Yuumi as well. So Jeweled Lotus getting a pretty big nerf. Carry Silas is getting a 10% maximum health buff, which is pretty cool. I kind of want to see some tank carry Silas games on the next patch. I think that'd be cool. Ash support augments going up by 5%. Or is this Ash carry augment? That's Ash carry augment, isn't it? Yeah. When you field him, your team gains. So he's getting Aphelios is getting. Aphelios support augment is getting a nerf across the board, because I guess it doubled up too well with Sure Shot. Lux is getting a Lux support augment's getting a nerf, which is interesting. So they've nerfed both Lux augments, which I didn't think were that popular, but apparently they are. Luden's Echo is getting nerfed at the higher end of damage, which makes sense. Luden's Echo was a quite strong augment. Predatory Precision's getting nerfed, but not the critical strike. It's the ability power. She gains 5 ability power, so that's like, it basically gives you no ability power. Plus all the changes to her augment, to her actual ability. That's a big nerf to Yuumi overall. Don't feel like it's going to be viable if these changes go through. Raiders Spoils, I don't know what @gold means, but I'm wondering whether it is just 0, because I felt that 1 gold was quite OP, but we'll have to see what that actually means, and whether that change goes through. 60% of their mana after their first cast combat, which is interesting because this augment was quite good for like carry Talia, but also was quite good for like Aurelian Soul as well. So it's interesting to see that nerfed. I did actually play against a Wukong re-energized Aurelian Soul comp today, and it absolutely smashed. So this is an interesting change. Reflector Shield says every 0 seconds, so I'm assuming that we don't know exactly what this is. I assume that is to go up to 2, because if you made it every 0 seconds, that would just mean it can proc whenever she takes damage. So I assume it's every 2 seconds, but we'll have to see. If it's every 2 seconds, though, that's pretty big nerf to the Annie Reflector Shield augment. Gain 60% attack speed and 4% per 100 missing health. So carry Renekton is getting a 20% attack speed buff. Rising Spell Force for Ezreal is getting nerfed. It was quite strong. Still going to be good, though. Still a good augment. Yasuo Omnivamp getting reduced again. It used to be, I think it used to be even higher than 66%. I think it used to be like 75%. Now it's down to 50%. So carry Yasuo is taking a big hit from that Omnivamp reduction. 15 mana per second, and this ability hits all enemies with 1 hex. That's a really nice support Alistair increase. Rammus is having a 30% decrease to the magic damage he deals from his armor. So carry Rammus augment's getting nerfed. Spread Shot is getting a buff, because Spread Shot is actually a pretty bad augment for Vayne. So it's getting a 25% damage increase. And Talia's carry augment is also getting nerfed. So 10% damage reduction against high health targets and lower ability power. So Talia is actually getting nerfed through Spellslinger and her augments. Nunu is getting a 20 damage, 20 AP nerf to They See Me Rolling, which is pretty funny. Gonna gain 3 gold from Think Fast. Other than that, no change, not a big deal. 350 health on Thrill of the Hunt 1, so it's going to make it a bit more impactful if you take that, especially as a silver augment. Trade Sector is going to give you 10 gold instead of 12 gold, which is fair enough. I felt 12 gold was a lot for a gold augment. You guys can't see the bottom of the page. And Traumatic Memories. When an ally dies, Fiddlesticks gains 350 bonus health for the rest of combat. So carry Fiddlesticks, especially with the Fiddlesticks changes. 2-star Fiddlesticks with Fiddlesticks augment could be pretty insane. Looking forward to that one, especially because he's going to cast way more often as well. And then Belveth's... is this Belveth's carry augment, or is this Belveth's support augment? I don't know. Difficult to say. But that's getting nerfed on the next patch. So that is all the changes. This is a lot of changes. The big news is that forecasts in general are trying to be pushed a bit more. A lot of the reroll comps are getting heavily nerfed. The biggest nerfs are to Brawlers, Jax, and to Yuumi mascots. Kai'Sa got a little bit nerfed, and so did Rammus. So the Kai'Sa-Rammus reroll comps got nerfed a little bit, but still should be good. Duelist got a huge nerf as well, but carry Vayne could be a thing. Yeah, lots of really exciting changes. Excited about this one, guys. I'd love to know what your thoughts were. And thank you for sticking with me for like 40 minutes if you did. There's a lot of changes going on the patch right now. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.